If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have a job to find. And if I work tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'll fall asleep when I'm home, when I'm I was just so far from here, focused on my own way, with a never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare, but when I stopped to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now, to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I can try. If I bleed tonight, if I am sad tonight, I don't have a job to find. And if I work tonight, if I'm so tired tonight, I'll fall asleep when I'm home, when I'm alone. Where you go, no one I can see through that side of the light. I can see my life is crap, I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the feel. Was out of reach of desire, was not aware of the start of hell, but when I stop to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now, to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday. It is 7 p.m., and that means it is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. I am OMD. It is good to be back. I've had a little bit of a mental refresh, a bit of a physical refresh. I got to go relieve some stress in a couple of mosh pits. So I am back, at least for a couple of weeks. I will be going back on dad duty again at the start of August. I'm just waiting to figure out those dates. I want to thank Bubba Duke and anybody else who has filled in here and held down the fort while I was away. So, ladies and gentlemen, where are we at? It's Monday. That means it's almost time for Monday Night Raw and the Raw Patrol over at Turnbuckle Studios. But right now, it is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. This is our Raw perspective. Bubba Duke is on assignment tonight, so let's get right into it. Last week, I don't remember much, but I do believe it was a hell of a show. With, that surprise right at the end in Roman Reigns' return, which we will get into a little bit later on. Let's start off Women's Tag Team Championships, I do believe. Oh, non-title tag match. With the Kabuki Warriors taking on Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez of the Judgment Day. This match, stellar, but again, we are talking about Asuka, Kairi Sane, Roxanne Perez, and Raquel Rodriguez. And ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before, others have said it before, the women show up, they show out. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go back and watch Evolution for them to show up and show out for you. This match, an absolute banger, but yes, it was Raquel and Roxanne coming away with the win due to interference by Dominic Mysterio, who, of course, has been feigning a rib injury for the last several weeks to avoid AJ Styles. This match, again, absolute banger. I don't quite remember the end of it. other than Dom getting involved. This led to a segment backstage with the Judgment Day leaving, where Adam Pearce congratulated Raquel and Roxanne on their win and telling Dom, hey, you must be feeling pretty spry, so, next week you're going to be reevaluated. And if you're cleared, you're going one-on-one with AJ Styles at SummerSlam. I think that, unfortunately, just that little segment, Dom's interference and that little segment in the back, overshadowed what this match truly, truly was. And I think that we are going to see the Kabuki Warriors back and full-time challenging for those tag team titles again very, very soon, as we need more competitors in the women's division. I'm even going to call it, and I am going to say this, we are going to get, in the very near future, a Nia Jax face turn. Yes, a Nia Jax face turn. With potentially, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to spill it, I believe it's going to be Nia Jax and Jade Cargill at some point down the road, challenging for those tag team championships. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a little bit rusty at this after having those few weeks off. Up next, Lyra Valkyria defeats Bayley in a 2 out of 3 falls #1 contenders match. A lot of history in this match. And again, coming out of Evolution, Becky, Lyra, Bayley opened that show and probably stole the show next to Rhea and Io. And I mean, what more can I say? Like, again, we are talking about Bayley, who is probably one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, who puts the business before herself. And I think in this case, Bayley needed to put herself before the business. Bayley deserves to be getting that into that feud and getting that one-on-one with Becky for the Intercontinental Championship. We know that how that all began at WrestleMania, with Bayley being attacked, Lyra needing a partner, so she got Becky Lynch. They won the women's tag team championships, lost them the next night, all for Becky to then turn on Lyra. Lyra then couldn't get a hold of Bayley. So it's all of the, the personal drama, the soap opera stuff that we are accustomed to within this industry, and that is what we are here for. It is the story behind every match. Bulkster coming in here saying, hey, bud, I'm glad we got a story with the IC belt. Me too, my friend. And again, before I forget, ladies and gentlemen, I want to shout out the Bulkster, because he does a lot of work for us here at the Locker Room Breakdown behind the scenes. And if it wasn't for him, this show wouldn't be what it is. So I got to say thank you, Bulkster. I appreciate you and everything you do. You truly are the right hand of this show. Again, I actually missed the ending of this match, so I did not see how Lyra got the second fall to get the 2 out of 3 falls. I know Bayley took the first one. And I'm okay with Lyra being involved in this title picture still as well. She was the first women's Intercontinental Championship. Mr. Best coming in saying he's here, but he's making some steak sandwiches. Well, send one my way, buddy. Send one my way. I need to eat before Raw Patrol. But I do think it is time for Lyra to move on to bigger and better. I had Lyra pitched in the... Oh, no. Was it Lyra last year at Queen of the Ring? Yes, that's right. I had Roxanne put into the Lyra spot. I do believe it is time for Lyra to move onwards and upwards, and I believe that Lyra should be moving into contention for that Women's World Championship and challenging Naomi. However, to our understanding, and we don't know for sure yet, there is supposedly a draft going to be happening after SummerSlam. So it's going to make things very, very interesting. Would I be okay with if Lyra went to SmackDown and challenged for the US title? Absolutely. Would I like to see Lyra versus Tiffany Stratton one more time? Hell yes. Give me those matches. Let me play fantasy booker here for a moment. Lyra versus Bianca. Need I say more? Before I forget, we did get Naomi opening the show as the new Women's World Heavyweight Champion before getting interrupted by Rhea and Io, who both want their shot after they literally tore the house down in Atlanta at Evolution. That one, ladies and gentlemen, that caught me by surprise when Naomi cashed in. I was expecting interference in the match. I didn't factor Naomi in. But I love it. And I thought they might cook with Naomi a little bit more, but I'm really, really glad they didn't. Okay, Mr. Best telling me I need to say more. Why I want Lyra versus Bianca? Because it would be a dream match. Those two can absolutely deliver. I am a far bigger fan of Lyra Valkyria than I am of Bianca Belair, but those two can deliver and probably tear the roof off. But this match did get booked then as a triple threat for SummerSlam. So I'm noticing a pattern here, ladies and gentlemen, because at WrestleMania we had Rhea, Io, and Bianca. Now we're getting Rhea, Io, and Naomi. You know, Bianca and Naomi are involved, are on the outs right now, but I'm wondering how long that's for. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know Bianca is a SmackDown superstar, but again, you've got the potential for, with this potential draft coming up, anything can happen. After that, last week was a very, very female-heavy show, and I am here for it. We had a returning Nikki Bella. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Nikki Bella made her return to a WWE ring in a singles match with SmackDown's Chelsea Green on Raw. Again, I'm not sold on why Nikki's back other than to come in for Evolution, which, okay, great. It's the nostalgia factor. It's all of that. It's a huge moment for her. You don't need to try and come back full time. I understand why she wants to now do this, to show her kids what she can do, to show her kids who she is outside of being mom. And I am okay with that. Family first. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Bella, thank you for coming, making the return at Evolution. Thank you for that match. You've done what I needed you to do, what was best for the situation. Let's leave it at that. Enjoy your retirement. Be a mom. Yes, Mr. Best, I am aware she said she wants to see if she can do it again. I'm really not here for that. I don't need a Nikki Bella return to full-time competition. After the match, Nikki Bella was getting beaten down and was rescued, saved by Stephanie Vaquer. We know that they are both of Hispanic background. So I get that, the heritage coming into play. But again, Stephanie has nothing to do with Chelsea unless we are starting to really start foreshadowing this potential draft. And again, we have no confirmation on it. I'm sure we're not going to get confirmation until after SummerSlam. And then into the, one more thing. Then we did have Gunther. Gunther comes out to address his next challenger because we are going into a 5-man gauntlet to see who will challenge Gunther at SummerSlam. And Gunther basically Gunther asks the question now, who's next after retiring Goldberg at Saturday night's main event? And by the way, I must say for this, thank you, Gunther. Thank you for retiring him, putting him out of all of our misery. Because Gunther says he is the only one. He is the only champion, where he was then confronted by Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. Paul shook Gunther's hand and then stood behind Breaker to deliver a promo saying, basically, Gunther, you've got no chance because you are looking at the man that is going to win this gauntlet. Number one in. And ladies and gentlemen, what a gauntlet match we had. It went a lot longer than most gauntlet matches, and I am thankful. This is what makes this industry so worthwhile. Braun Breaker opened up the gauntlet against Penta and probably had a good 7-8 minutes with him instead of 3. And those two absolutely delivered until Braun, of course, delivered that absolutely devastating spear. And folded up Penta. Up next, the guy that had absolutely everything to gain in this. I'm going to guess this was probably Mr. Best's pick to win the gauntlet in LA Knight. And again, ladies and gentlemen, with what had happened at Saturday night's main event, Seth Rollins and his knee injury in that match, this would have probably been some vindication for LA Knight had he been able to get past Braun Breaker, and those two just absolutely 100% delivered. As always, you get a man as powerful as Braun Breaker, a man as smart and dangerous as LA Knight, what do you expect? Third up, Jey Uso. The man I know we all probably thought was going to get the trilogy match at SummerSlam with Gunther. Beating him at WrestleMania, losing to him a couple of months ago at Saturday night's main event, and now this. This match, for as frenetic and energetic as it was, this portion of this gauntlet was probably the shortest, and I don't know why. I think you should have been showing a little bit more on the... I know it was to show more the cardio side, but I think you could have shown a little bit of the wear and the tear and the physical toll that the previous two competitors had taken on Bron Breakker. Instead, this was the shortest segment of this match. I mean, they still knocked it out of the park, but we know that Jey Uso and Bron Breakker can do that. They have had that rivalry last summer over the Intercontinental Championship. So if we can get back to that point as a one-on-one, we are golden. I would be okay with Jey Uso versus Bron Breakker one-on-one one more time. But we know that there is something more in the works for Jey Uso, which we will touch on momentarily. Because after Bron Breakker dispatched of Jey Uso, CM Punk came out. This was where they showed the wear and tear, the sort of physical breakdown, the mental breakdown, the exhaustion coming off of Bron Breakker. And I'm okay with it, but they really, really, I think, took the wind away from CM Punk in this, really making him show his age in this when he was the freshest of the two. He should not have looked as gassed as he did as early as he did against Bron Breakker. In the end, it was CM Punk who, even after getting a shot from Bronson Reed, who came away with the victory. And that's when the surprises began to unfold. We had Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker attempt to maim CM Punk, all for Jey Uso to come back out and make the save. And we are getting that. Jey Uso got beat down again. CM Punk got beat down. And Bronson Reed going to the top rope for a tsunami when we got the return of the OTC. Our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, made his triumphant return. I have a feeling that this triumphant return was scheduled for Saturday night's main event and not necessarily for Raw, but the injury derailed and put plans on hold. So Roman came down, took out Bronson Reed first, took out Bron Breakker, proceeded to then help up Jey, sort of looked at CM Punk with a smug look, didn't actually help him up, but the three of them did stand triumphant in the ring, looking down. So what does this mean for SummerSlam? Are we going to get Roman Reigns and Jey, the right-hand man? Are we going to get more because of fallout from SmackDown? I'm going to put this, I personally, I believe it's going to be, I don't know if we're going to get Roman Reigns and Bron Breakker one-on-one, Jey Uso and Bronson Reed one-on-one, or if we're going to get that in some form of a tag match. But I do wonder that if Paul Heyman can go over and maybe convince the other members of the MFT to team with Braun and Bronson against Roman, Jey, Jimmy, and I don't know who they bring in. I don't know who they get on their team for that. There's speculation, but I'm going to get to that speculation a little bit later on because it is time for the preview portion of the show and on to tonight. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get Roman Reigns returning and addressing Paul Heyman. Is this how we are going to start the show? I don't know. I think it would be the ideal way to start the show, but I also think it would be the ideal way to your main event segment, so to speak. But I think either way, it's going to be Roman or Paul coming out first and the other one interrupting. I don't see it any other way because that's really just how it has to be in this industry. And I'm here for it, don't get me wrong, because I cannot wait to see what that segment brings to us. CM Punk is coming out and he will be addressing Gunther and the World Heavyweight Championship. Do we get Gunther interrupting? In this case, I hope not. Gunther has made a habit of this, of letting his contenders talk to him and not necessarily interrupting, but also not getting physical with them, lulling them into that false sense of security. I think with CM Punk, he's not going to have that false sense of security against Gunther because CM Punk has been around this business long enough. I think this is going to be a case of the head games meet the head games. This is going to be a very physical match when it gets to SummerSlam. But I think you need the head games in that build-up as opposed to the physical altercations. I think if you do a physical altercation, it has to be tonight or you wait until SummerSlam for them to go one-on-one, whether that is Saturday night or Sunday night in the main event. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it. CM Punk is walking out of SummerSlam as your new World Heavyweight Champion. Becky Lynch is coming out with a proposal to Lyra Valkyria. Now, we saw what happened the last time there was a stipulation put on this match, on the match between Becky and Lyra. If Lyra won, Becky wasn't able to challenge for the Women's Intercontinental Championship as long as Lyra was the champ. If Becky won, Lyra had to raise Becky's hand, which she did, which Becky won, and Lyra did raise her hand, which is what really escalated the Bayley situation into all of that. So what is Becky's proposition going to be for Lyra tonight? Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea. I've seen different ideas tossed about on the interwebs. I don't want to get into those. I wonder what it's going to be. I think really perhaps the best stipulation, the best proposal is a loser leaves Raw. We haven't had a loser leave a brand match in a very long time. And that is something that I am intrigued to see if that is where they would go. Now we're going to get into some matches, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, let's start it off with a number one contender tag team championship match. The New Day, the Creed brothers of American Made, and the LWO get their opportunities to then challenge the Judgment Day for the tag team championships. How do the LWO figure into this? I really don't get it. What about the War Raiders? All of a sudden, they're on the back burner? The New Day, who refused to give the War Raiders a rematch, saying they wanted it to be about new teams coming up. We've seen the New Day in the Creeds. We saw the War Raiders in the Creeds. Where are the War Raiders in this match, and why are they not able to be in it? This is something that is bugging me. Mr. Best saying, I forgot to mention that we find out if Dom is cleared to compete for his match. I did mention that early on in the show, actually, Mr. Best. But yes, we are going to find out if Dom is cleared to compete for his match with AJ Styles, which I am pretty sure we are going to find out that he's cleared and it's going to happen. But I don't get how the LWO figures into this. And which members of the LWO is it going to be? Is it going to be Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro? Is it going to be Dragon Lee in one of those two? Do we get a Rey Mysterio return? I don't know. I don't see how the LWO figures into this. Unless the LWO is being served up as cannon fodder and going to be taken out early, or are you going to do what we just saw with the number one contenders match on Friday? Do we have the LWO pick up that quote-unquote upset win and get those tag team championships? Get that tag team championship match? Yes, Mr. Best, I know the match is to help boost the tag division on Raw, but I do not see how the LWO figures into this match over the War Raiders. For me, the LWO just doesn't make sense in this match. And that's no disrespect to them. They are tremendous competitors. But for me, they just don't make sense. We discussed mind games a little while ago. Let's discuss them some more, shall we? Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn one more time, 1-on-1. Do we see Karrion Kross avenge his loss from, not Crown Jewel? Mr. Best, help me out here. What was the last Saudi pay-per-view, please? Or PLE? I'm sorry, I can't remember. Do we see Karrion Kross get redemption with a victory over Sami? Or does Sami continue it to try and move away from Karrion Kross and those mind games that Karrion Kross is playing? Night of Champions. Thank you, Mr. Best. I greatly appreciate that. I have to say, I think in this case, we are going to see Karrion Kross pick up that victory. Do I see shenanigans in this match? I'm going to say yes. Does Karrion Kross have something up his sleeve? Absolutely, he does. But does Sami have a counter for Scarlett? I don't believe so. We know that Sami is a gutsy competitor and will fight with everything he's got. But I think in this case, you need Karrion Kross to get that redemption, and you can settle that trilogy at SummerSlam. And from mind games to brutal physicality, ladies and gentlemen, another banger. Sheamus and Rusev one more time after these two beat the absolute living snot out of each other 2 weeks ago. We get it again tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Rusev picked up the victory last time, and I would love to say it was a dominant victory. It was a dominant finish for Rusev. Does Sheamus get that redemption this time? In this case, I am going to say no. I think you need Rusev to really take that next step and put himself up into that echelon as the next guy to challenge for the Intercontinental title, or even to challenge CM Punk coming out of SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship and make Rusev that credible threat that we know he is absolutely capable of being. That is who he is. We know that Rusev's character is going to say, no, I don't care about gold. I want to make sure that I am redeeming these men's souls, making them who they want to be. I think to get him into that position to challenge for a belt, whether it's the Intercontinental, whether it's the World, that is where you need to go with Rusev. Would I be okay if Sheamus and Rusev again wound up having a trilogy or wound up in a triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam? Absolutely not. But I just don't see it. I think Rusev gets yet another dominant finish and leaves Sheamus out of SummerSlam. And then, ladies and gentlemen, again, like I said, I don't know if we're going to get Roman Reigns and or Paul Heyman to start the show. I don't know if we're going to get Roman Reigns or Paul Heyman to end the show. But ladies and gentlemen, I do believe, for me, I think the better fit is the main event segment, just to really, really make it that much more, that impactful. Regardless of where it is on the show, it will be impactful. It is going to drive Raw. This is going to be really the driving force for SummerSlam. But what does Roman bring for backup if needed outside of Jay? Ladies and gentlemen, that just about does it for me. But before we go, I want you to take a look and see everything going on here. Okay, now they've changed all of this on me, so I've lost a lot of stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, let's just go here. If you are looking to get your start in podcasting, collaborations, content creation, check us out at turnbucklestudios.org. There is a section on the website where you can meet the team, including myself, my regular partner, Bubba Duke, Chris Best, who joined us in the comments, Chris Parrish, and of course our founding father, Carl Carafel. That is turnbucklestudios.org. You can also check out our latest episodes. Send an email. Somebody will be in touch. I touched on him earlier. I thanked him, but I want to give a shout out to my friend, the Bulkster. Check him out on YouTube and on TikTok, both at Bulkster Show. Great guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him just a few weeks ago. Fantastic human being. I greatly appreciate him. Appreciate everything he does here at the Locker Room Breakdown. And I'm going to shout him out to my boy Chris Best. You can catch him and I on Wednesdays on the PlayStation Showcase, on Tuesdays with Turnbuckle Talk. And so, yes, Mr. Best, great friend, great creator. Anything you want to know, he is our Commander Data. So he is the one that really, really pipes in on stuff and really offers a lot of insightful knowledge. So I want to give him that shout out. If you're looking for merch, check out carlcarafel.redbubble.com. And you can get anything from really any show you want. Whether it's the Boar's Nest, whether it's Locker Room Breakdown, whether it's Turnbuckle Talk, anything for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, you can get it there. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, for me, if you are looking for me, you can find me on my Linktree, linktr.ee/OMD show. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Join me in about 20 minutes with Mr. Best on Raw Patrol over at Turnbuckle Studios. I'm not sure who else is going to be there, but there is a cast of crazies. So ladies and gentlemen, from all of us here at the Locker Room Breakdown, remember, the world is better with you in it. Thank you. And